And all of a sudden it'll just pop online. Let me share that out, Frank.
You're streaming right now.
Hello, everybody. I know I'm live. I'm just going to get this shared out so everybody in Facebook land can get it too. So, Redneck.
What's going on, everybody? It's great to see everyone tonight. Just throwing
Thank
a
you
big
for the.
shout out there to everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming.
this actually had some social media attention. I had several people share it out and saying they were going to be here. So,
I hope they tune in and enjoy the conversation because I think it'll be a good one tonight. I
oh,
promised myself I wouldn't talk like a random and just go off into. I swear it's like I'm channeling the information sometimes, and I
uh,
can't. When the flow breaks open, I can't stop it.
oh yeah,
I'm
like
weak.
it's actually kind of interesting because I loved when you said that about our last interview that you had to go back and watch it. I was like, oh my God, thank God. Because me too, like, I don't know if we both just got into our higher selves and they just kind of hijacked it on us or what. But I was like, I went to write the description for the show and I'm like, what did we just
What did we
talk about?
talk about? That's what I did. I did the exact same thing. I pictured when I was third eye looking back on us, right? I was like, "Oh, it's always now. Let me take a look." It looked like me and you were just sitting in front of like boxes, like the
Yeah.
square, and then there's no space, so like it turned, and me and you were just like, it was almost like we were in a dressing room on this side, a dressing room on this side, and we didn't know it. So and we just did it, and as we're just looking and doing a little talking, the higher guys like the antenna was like and I was like, yo, what's happening to me?
Oh, it was nuts. Okay. Okay. So since we're live and we're on and everything, I will give you a proper introduction so I can cut it right here. I'm going to wave at the camera so I know where to cut my audio. Welcome everybody to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. Joining me tonight is one of my favorite people to talk to. He is a neo shaman from New York and a high vibrational musician, and just one of the most absolutely fascinating, mind blowing people to talk to. Is a person I've come to call a friend is Frank Castle. Thank you for joining me again, Frank.
Thank you for having me back, Don. Love being here. Love to your family, to the wifey, and shout outs to the fearless family. I hope some of you tuning in tonight. I miss you guys. I'll be back soon. Major integrations, as I was telling you earlier. Like I was
Yeah,
curled in the ball, like, oh, what's happening to me? And I've seen it go on around here a few times. Um, it's like the world's ending in that moment. But I don't know where direction you want to go. But to be recent on incidents, this is what I wanted to say. I said to you, it's the past few days. It's been crazy, and I told you something. We're not going to talk about that though because I don't want to get in trouble. However,
yeah,
so the 25th was the day out of time, right? Right. What is that? So the day at a time is supposedly, is it like a timeline jump? Is it like I'm not just asking you. I am kind of like it comes up and I say, "What is that? What is that day out of time?" But cuz I don't believe the calendars are correct. I believe everything's off. We lied to about everything. But day at a time. Okay, so let's go by the villains or the evil ones set of rules. Um So the day at a time would mean the next day is a reset. You had reset something, right? Just like when the light workers are like, "Oh, the Schumann resonance blacked out. We did a time jump. We a timeline jump." Okay, so we'll put it into perspective. The next day is the opening ceremonies of the Olympics.
yeah.
And
Oh,
what was that all? Now we already knew all this stuff and I've already known, but I'm still 100% involved in the movie as I look and go, wow, like you guys are going there with this. Okay, like this is just really awkward now. Like you drove the hate meter up 1,000% with Christians and regular people that just don't want their kids watching that junk, right? And then I told you what had happened to me. That was one thing. And then my wifey was down. She wasn't feeling right. And then I had the flash because I used to do this like 8 years ago. We would drink ayahuasca and almost descend upon those rituals that the Dark Ones were doing right before they started doing it. So they would be getting ready and set up. And me and there was a couple of shaman, Fearless family knows who they are. And we would just, ayahuasca would just like sprinkle us in. We would all drink at the same time and we different places of the world. And then we would find ourselves like right there in the ritual. So we were just like, some people would kick things over. Some people would make people late and not feel right. So they would miss their spot. Some people would change lettering around. They'd forget. You can't, when you're doing a real ritual, a real one where you want to bring something in and give it energy and stuff, you cannot make a mistake. No mistake, zero. So if you make one mistake and one thing out of that is out of alignment, you drain the battery instantly. It's like pulling the plug out the bottom of the barrel and it just starts draining. And what happens is because you're going to the past, you're usually echoing through time back up to you in all timelines, all directions. It's like you pull the rug out, but you have 20 of us doing this, right? And then reporting back to each other, doing it. We would go live with each other like this, but not with everyone else. Like we just
Yeah.
make the call and we'd have people from all over and we would just go under and we all had a select thing that we were supposed to do. And then like the thought was there and Aya would just scoop us, drop us right where she needed to have us. Like, yo, you got to go in there and you got to take care of this. We weren't allowed to physically do damage to anything though. We weren't allowed to reveal ourselves. There's a whole bunch of things you're not allowed to do. However, you can do a lot of other things. You can make people, you go back a little bit further and make them not show up. They just can't get there. You do car trouble, this trouble, that trouble. You just everybody's different with how they present it to you, right? Somebody will get cold feet at the last moment, just kind of back out. Now you're down the man. Guess what? They don't care that you're down a man. Now you become the man, right? So whatever you were bringing out is now going to pull that energy from those select characters. So it's an interesting task. And then that ceremony, and I believe that'll be their last one.
Yeah. They already actually pulled the video. I just saw it on social media. Like if you go to watch it now, it says content not available. Like it's blacked out.
Well, we all
There's
know.
Yeah.
All the kids already saw it. We all saw the guy's balls fall out of his pants. We all saw. By the way, there was a child there near him. Then we saw the you're making a joke of the Last Supper, and I don't really like to get involved with religious things, but as a shaman, I'm like, oh, you're all doing it all wrong. There's a kid at the end of the table. I was telling my wife this. I go, look, there's a little kid. And then there's like a dude whispering in the kid's ear at the table, trying to make it look all like, ooh, don't do that. Right? What are you doing? What's wrong with you people? Well, it's not that there's anything wrong with them per se. They're just the way they are and they follow a certain regiment, just like you wake up every day and brush your teeth. They wake up and do their thing. And people don't want to believe it. They don't. Now it's in your face.
Yeah.
You had attempts on, I'm going to try to keep this a certain way because we're on YouTube for the most part.
Yeah.
Attempts at 45's life.
Yeah.
Right. And then no information 14, 15 days out, nothing. And we all know the story. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're pointing it out hand over fist, but they're not stopping.
Oh,
their locomotive is a going.
Yeah, just for anybody that isn't aware, I live in Alberta. The place that's been set on, has forest fires right now. The place where our prime minister was warned over and over and over again that you're making kindling, you should have that removed, and he didn't.
Yeah.
The place where a town burnt down overnight and looked a hell of a lot like Maui.
Yeah, think 15-minute cities
Yeah,
and then
in one of
go,
the
"Oh," right?
oh it
So they're making
it's
way.
dirty up
We're
to do.
paving way for the new rail, for the new concentration camps and every other little place, re-education, this, that, and the other thing. They're not gonna make it. So
No,
we're already in the Aquarius swing. They're not even supposed to be here,
yeah,
right? But the people aren't caught up with the actual things that are had to happen, right? So we're watching a script play out. That's why we're told to observe the script. Don't get involved with it because now you're in the drama. You're ascending. You're supposed to do something else. You're supposed to watch, right? You keep your eye on things and be fully aware and then do what you need to do in your life to just move forward without any complications or fear um, from any of the system's designs. So anything they throw at you, you should just step back and be like, no. Just like that.
yeah.
No. You don't have to get more involved. Like some of us don't belong in a crowd because we'd be the first ones they just stomp out. And you go, how do they do that? I'm like, well, like a moth to the flame, right? They're
You,
drawing directly to my energy, your energy. You're not supposed to be there. So you're to observe. That's why they tell you that. You're graduating.
bro, we just had a bizarre incident in the town that we're getting married in. We don't really go to big stores, big box stores, but Walmart was all there was. And this Walmart looked like it was straight out of the 90s, first of all. We walked in and it was literally like what you just explained. It was a moth to a flame. Like the frequency felt off, and everywhere I went there, I went to the plant section because I had to get some fertilizer because I grow my own stuff. There's a lady pretending to be on her phone, but I know she's recording me. And then I go because trying on some pants for the wedding. I go try the pants on. The janitor's immediately into the change room that I was just into to scope the place out. Like, hey, oh, before that, we were in the electronics, and the Middle Eastern lady kept peeking around the. First of all, we're both in shorts and t-shirts. So there's not a goddamn thing we can steal, so we know it's not that. But she's literally just pulling one of these and peeking around the corner, like, what the fuck is that? And that's how
Yeah,
it
yeah.
went through the whole store. Like, it's not like they were suspect of us. It was just like, what the fuck are those?
Yeah, no,
It
they
was,
don't know what to think of the energy, so they follow it,
yeah,
right?
it's bizarre.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
go to the supermarket with my wife, and we have some jokes we make while we're there, and, you'll find me always, getting cornered and people blocking me with their carts, and then, like, kinda, like, half circle surrounding me while doing their shopping with their backs turned to me. Or they'll turn around and go, "Oh, oh, 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 oh," like, there's always this thing going on, and she laughs about it. When we go to the big stores like Costco, where it's like the warehouse, that's where it gets out of control, and I used to not be able to go to the stores and go shopping for I used to pull in the energy during those moments back then. So I would get sick every single time, and then I have high anxiety just to walk out my front door. And then I
mhm.
decided to, go a little further in, learn how to shield myself, do all that good stuff. Now I bounce around and the magnet is strong. So shout outs to ayahuasca. She showed me the people that are raising their frequency. She goes, now this is metaphorically. You have to pull yourself up onto the mountain because you can't live with the general populace. And I go, why can't you live with the general populace? She's like, nobody's waking up. Right. But you're still waking up. But what's actually waking up and giving you the awareness is the activation in your DNA. So you're not going to be able to control for a while how this comes off of you, right? So you got to learn how to protect yourself and ground yourself and do certain things, really get your integration correct. But on the furthest point to that needle, being around normies, right, would make them instantly drawn to you, right? Like they would just start showing up. They'd want to talk to you. People would just come forward. And there would be people that don't want you around, and they wouldn't come, they, you stay around the area, and they almost like they're hissing at you and stuff. But as it gets even stronger, that magnet gets super strong, and they look at you, they see that light finally. You giving off the light, right? Not light body being, you're just giving off a little radiation. You're like, oh, look at this radiance. I'm looking gorgeous or something. And they come running and they get within 5 feet of you and they start fainting. They start throwing up on you because they're instantly purging. So they're like, you're not going to want to deal with any of that crazy. So you're going to pull yourself away and watch and observe from here. Then, when you're ready, you insert yourself slowly with others.
No, that leads into something. I don't know if you and I have talked about it, but it's something I've been kicking around in my head, and I think it alludes to that very well. Is like we talk about the separation and the ascension and like high vibe and technocracy. The way I understand it, and I think we have, but I want to go back over it. It's really just going to become a separation of perception. Like people of lower vibration aren't going to be able to perceive those that have reached a emotional frequency that is beyond their perception. Is that pretty much what's going on? And is like that why we stick out? And
So, this is where I get slightly confused as well. There's a point in this separation because I've always used the train example. There are two trains and they're going down the tracks. And obviously, there's two trains. We're all looking at each other. Everyone's going. You can go from cart to cart to cart to cart. But some people are out in the front, some people are over in the back. And at any point, as these two trains are going very slowly, you can jump back and forth, right? But then the trains eventually, at the point we're at now, are pulling away, right? So there were some people on the front of the train that have already done this. It's happening to them right meow, right? Or it did happen to them already. And we're like, this is why they tell you to choose a side. Are you for the light or are you for evil? Because it's not the dark. The darkness isn't evil. So what are you going to do? Are you going to stay with the old system? They make it easy, like a baby. Is you going to stay with the old system or are you going to get with the new system? So people they're in fear of losing something. Like, oh my God, everything's going to change. Oh, what's going to happen to me? So they decide to stay with the old system. The old system then, as it's splitting away, we're like, nah, new system. So we're in this train and the train starts separating at some point. To stay connected, we would have to run to the back of the train and jump a few times because everything's pulling in separate directions. However, something I do understand is that it's right here. Like we don't go anywhere because we make it happen right here. But in one frequency, and then maybe it drips down and it pulls up the next section of people. I'm not really sure, but the train with many cars would be great example because you can just keep jumping and moving around, and the more you hold on to it, um, you just keep jumping. But once you see it and you make your decision, you're like, nah, I need a better world for me, my kids, my animals, people in general. Like I want something new. I don't want the old. The old is how we got here, right? We should already have flying cars and all that. And I'm not basing anything on that, but spiritually, if we weren't held down and just allowed to have our DNA, we would all be like space capital G gods because we're all source. And we would just be floating and flying around, or like this would have happened a very long time ago. All the ascension and all that other stuff that would have all happened, but we got stuck in a loop. Right now, it leads to the solar event, right? The solar flash, and you need that to kick off other things because people aren't waking up. So it's like a timer that goes down. It's like Friday at school, and it's like 2:35, and you're just watching the clock, right? And then the bell rings, and you leave. That's the solar event. It's different after that. Like um, you're leaving this square, and then you're stepping out into the sphere. into the real world. It's crazy. This is a crazy moment. This place is, and I say this for light beings that know what's going on, that have to go through this, that are going through this, that have gone through this, or that are about to go through it. It's psychotic.
Yeah.
It's psychotic to do what we do, to come in to bring the energy, is like, in effect, beings of great power just jumping out of airplanes with no parachute, just landing face first in the cement or wherever you decide to hit, and then start from there. And then just one life after another, but it's all happening inside the sphere. And until you recognize that you can do something about that, like, no, I'm going to stand in the center of this and claim singularity, have your timelines collapse into yourself. And you're like, look what they did to me over lifetimes. They fractured me. And it's like, nah, you already are a master of this psychotic mess. We're known to jump from the highest levels into the upside down and then right side up it. All right. Crazy stuff. That's what keeps me sane when I do some of the things I do. I take a deep breath because my body stopped shaking from all the crazy. I literally went through so much fearful stuff in my past and the last 10 years that each time like built a layer in me to like be like, oh, okay, it's you. It's this thing. My wife was like, "Oh, I'm afraid to go into the basement." I go, "Why?" That's where the portal opened and Ra came in, and I just walked downstairs in the dark, and I'm like, "Anything down here?" Nope. It's 100% clear, filled with the energy of Ra, who during an ayahuasca experience opened a portal in the basement and 2 o'clock in the morning walked in and then had to walk out because his energy was too strong. I'm like, there ain't nothing in the dark anymore. We ain't playing that game no more. It's dark to light, not dark to light to back to dark. No, we're not playing that game. I'll just shine the light right on it. What is it? What is it? What is coming from space? What is coming up from inner earth? What are you speaking about? Right? Like all of these things. It is time. And we built to this. Just imagine for a second staring at the ship, a ship, and it's like and you're like looking up and you're like, wow, it's the first time I'm seeing this. It's right there. And you start getting like, all like, oh, that's pretty crazy, right? Meanwhile, that's your ship that you're right. This is what I'm saying. Like, there's no more fear.
Yeah.
Right. So we win in the end, the whole thing. There's the bifurcation, the solar event. The solar event is going to knock out artificial intelligence. It's like targeting that upon doing things for your DNA. So it's like that can't exist in that energy. So it just comes out, it pours out of the sun, but it helps reset the area um, for those that are staying or those that are doing something different. In these there's other beings all around. It's not just what we're on, it's all these other things, and the AI is everywhere. It's like everywhere and nowhere.
Yeah.
So all the dirty pollution and the technology allows this to just enter and exit where it wishes in these areas, no problem, until it builds a body, comes forth. So the solar event knocks that down, but allows you, like you were supposed to evolve properly, and we weren't allowed to. We were poisoned and polluted, and um we were taught wrong things that were false. We were following false things, false idols, right? And it's not about like a religious thing. It's about an internal thing. You are the Christ. The Christ is like a title that you attain from these energies. So as the energies come in, you start mastering yourself and knowing thyself. All this stuff unlocks. You go on the hero's journey and find yourself in a position such as most of the listeners, there's a lot of people doing it and everyone's doing it, but because of how deep you are or how your skin suit is affected, because it's like you and your onboard computer. It's like your flesh computer. How it's affected, it depends. Like if you're going to do it now or not make it, and then you come back and do it in the like on the next life, or you're just not ready for a while and they put you over here. I know people get scared when they hear that kind of stuff. What do you mean they put you over here? Well, you're not going to be here. You're not going to be able to withstand that energy.
Yeah.
The do.
Um, I wanted to ask, do you think that the sociological construct that we have now is basically what's muting us from these abilities? Like you were talking about the separation with the solar flash, and it sounds like that's going to be the beginning of like the social construct we live under is the trap, right? Because it makes us so reliant upon it, we become subservient to it, and we stop doing shit for ourselves. Is the easiest way I
And
can
then
explain.
you rely on it and you get scared if I pull you away and something's going to change. That's why Bruce Lee said, be like water, my friend. That's why he said that. He's like, you have to accept change. We're on a planet and there's things happening everywhere. And you're afraid that this bottle is moved from right to left. You make no sense. You have to change. Yeah, the bottle's over here. No big deal. Get over it because there's bigger things happening that you're not aware of. Gosh, if they turn the lights on for anyone, you would see you're surrounded by everything and everyone. Everyone's watching as well. So as your awareness goes up, the people with your third eye activated know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have clear visual, clear audio, you could hear them talking. I have all of that stuff, right? So I could ask a question and then I'll hear where the answer's coming from in like 360. So I'll know if it's standing in front of me, behind me. And then soon as the energy comes, I guess, within my energy range, I can see them. I can just see them like, oh, look who it is, right? This is all built in getting us ready to see them with these eyes, right? They don't. One of the funny things, even the mushrooms was teaching me, they were showing me fainting goats. And they were like, yo, you guys pull away from the system and you pass out. You're like, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? Right. So there's your thing. Like, is the system? Yeah, the system's built for us to be like these little fainting goats. And then the little gray guy goes, hey, man. And you just go, and that's it. You're done. You're done. He fainted. What do you mean he fainted? Well, he saw the little gray guy, but the little gray guy's cute. Come over here. Bring this little gray guy out. Stop hiding behind things and come over here. Right. And then people just have heart attacks and die when you walk up with your friend. Like you have them behind you, right?
Yeah.
Imagine I walked up with one of those guys and said, listen, Don, now you're in a house full of people, family, friends, my family, my friends, everybody's at your house, right? And I'm like, I walk in and I go, okay, I'm gonna bring in one of my friends. However, he's not from here. He's a little green dude with big eyes. Don't freak out or you're racist. Right? Wait. And then I pull that shit on everyone. And then you're like, what is this? What is he talking about? And then I walk in with one, and a bunch of our family members just start having heart attacks.
Yeah.
They're like, well, it's a complete breakdown. They think it's a mask. They don't know what's happening. God forbid you walk in two or three of them. They'll be like, and this is just little green men, right? Or little gray guys, or beings that look exactly like you, just slightly different. So their energy's really high. So you bring them in the room, people faint. They can't handle it. They'll throw up. This is what I was telling us about. As you ascend, your energy levels are going to just go really high. So people will have that ayahuasca purge right in front of you because they can't stand in front of you unless they hit your frequency. They'll hit like that wall, which is what's drawing them to you. It's like your energetic field draws it, and then they get there and they're like, it's too much. It's too much. When I first saw myself as the light body being, I couldn't look directly at myself. I was like standing in this room and there's like a keyhole and I was looking through it. Everything was black. And then the light was just coming through this little crack in the keyhole. And I was like, what is that? It's too bright. Turn it off. And they were laughing at me like, what are you talking about? That's you on the other side. We're just going to make you look at you. And they were like, oh, he can't handle it yet. He literally can't look. It's too much energy. He's going to have a problem. And like 2 times later, it was the light body just walked out, and I was like, "Look at the light. This is amazing." And they're like, "Yeah, we had to build you up specifically so you could stand in that." Right? So that's what so I just want to throw this out there. Maybe you'll have something to say on it, but I've been doing this for since 2013, right? Uh I've been on this little adventure, and I do the show, and then I lived at my apartment, and I noticed the things were changing around me, and I had to move immediately. Everybody knows my story, and then I had to come back home. Now we're all here, and I lost all these cats and everything. There's so many different things that happened to me, and now I felt like I don't want to do it no more. But not because I'm mad, not because I don't have information. I'm like in my own crazy trying to fix this stuff. How do I explain this to anyone without sounding like I'm crying like a baby, flexing on something, sounding like a victim? And then they're like, well, you have to integrate it. So I'm like, all right, we'll integrate. And then it never ends because it's happening so fast. So then there's so much to teach and know, but there's people that filled all the spots. People where I was, there's 100 people channeling, 1,000 people on YouTube, card reading, this, that, the other. Everything you want is there. You want to talk about aliens on a spaceship? They're there, right? You have guys that have been in the ship, guys that have built the ship, guys that saw the ship, guys that talk about the guy that sees the ship, right? Like you got the whole thing. So what am I going to do? So this is how I started feeling. And then they said to me, "Oh, your contract for that is up. You're about to expand. You're not done with this. You're going to expand it this way." And now there's this new thing that the wave I was in the last 10 years is like, we're hands up now. Are we going to really wake anyone up right now? Everybody just wants to hear about the election or about the event, the solar flash. Nobody wants to hear about the hard work.
Um, I think that's actually really cool that you bring that up because we were just talking to Karen Holton earlier today, and I won't bring her personal stuff into it, but she was talking about, and she taught us this in her quantum transformation class as well, that exactly what you're saying. It seems like as soon as something big is about to happen, especially to energetic beings, there's always turmoil, right? There's one of the side stories she has is like, where's the pony? Because there's always a pile of shit before you get the pony, right? That's basically the way she broke it down and changed my perspective on a lot of it because you do got to do the shit, right? Before you're going to get the pony. And like, yeah, everybody, like, we're still like, it's
We're in it.
hilarious. Yeah.
You and I are in it. Us, our ilk, our people are doing it, trying to tell the next range of people, do it. Because you're going to have to do it. So things I did with ayahuasca that took me 7, 8 years, it took some of my clients that stuck around and stayed through it like 5 years. And then the next set of clients that came in like years later had to do it in a fucking year. So I'm like, you're doing the change that I did in 7 years, 8 years, in 1 year, because this is it. You're supposed to be here. So if we had a map and we had all agreed, yo, we have to make it to this part of the map by this point, you have to be there. Right. And then you look at the map and you're nowhere fucking near your destination, which is energetic destination. So they force you into those if you're aware. So not everyone goes out and drinks ayahuasca and does mushrooms. Some people just do it naturally, but some people resist. Oh, I'm so scared. The whole world's falling apart, blah, blah, blah. It's like, man, get over yourself. Go take a look outside. Everything looks good. You should see the front of my house. It looks beautiful. Get out of here. Right? My neighbor's houses all look good too. Get lost. So there's a lot of BS to it, but there's also none of the work is being done. That's why the shift is taking so long. Right now, the longer you wait on that shift, that for you internally for you, and the longer you wait on that train and not make that decision to do the work, the harder it's going to be for any individual when it comes time. And then I circle back around, like that press secretary, right? She says, I circle back around to
Yeah.
fainting goats. You will faint like a goat if you don't do the work. You will faint like a goat. It's easy. The more ayahuasca I've done and mushrooms, they tell you like a child, because we're big babies, we're big children. Even though we're doing all this crazy stuff, we're just baby sources. And they're like, look, if you do this, this is going to happen. Okay, well, why are you still doing it? I don't know. I'm scared. It's like, do the work. Look in the mirror. Don't be afraid of yourself. It's okay. Don't judge yourself. Just look inside and start clearing out that space. Just apologize to yourself.
Yeah.
Meditate. Maybe you need to pray a little bit. I don't know, but prayer seems to do it for some people. Right? I know Space Jesus, right? So when I'm having an exorcism moment at one of my ceremonies that has to be done, and nothing is working, and another shaman walks in and goes, do you follow Jesus? And the person that's being like under the exorcism reacts to the Jesus name, then go with Jesus. Right? And the exorcism works all of a sudden. I'm like, man, I've been doing this for 3 hours, and I had to say Space Jesus. I literally know him. He's just a dude in high frequency. People don't want to believe that. Like I told you, I think on the last show when I was talking to him, he goes, "The Christ is a title. When I stub my toe, do I yell Frankie Christ?" Right? And I just laughed in his face. I was like, ah. And then I made references to all the time that people just yell, oh, Jesus Christ. It happens like a bazillion times a day.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, you all are exactly what I am. So he's like, you got to break that like whoa and wonderment shit. You are it. But you got to do the work to get there. You got to want it, not just pray for it and sit there and hope that God does it for you, or source comes and just breaks down the door. You're being called to do it all the time, up to everything, on things like a piece of trash. You normally maybe throw your cigarettes on the floor, and then one day you just decide not to. Earth is just precious, right? And you're like, in the garbage you go, boom, you change direction right then and there. It starts with the smallest thing. The giant journey, the first step has to be taken. It's a baby step. And take baby
Yeah.
steps. Baby steps are fine. Treat yourself right. And don't put up with bullshit no more.
Yeah.
Do please, people, if you're listening, people listening, do a parasite cleanse. You'll be able to think clearly again. Heavy metal detox. You could do it all with like things like the ivermectin, and there's a few other. MMS is really good. A few things you can do for yourself. And my whole household did it multiple times now. I'm on like 2 years of doing it, and I'm watching fog leave everybody around. But that doesn't take away the craziness of everything that's happening. So I can't help the family members with that part. Like, oh my gosh, do you believe that? And I'm like, but I put that in a song 15, 16 years ago. They're like, whatever. And then I play the song and they're like, well, it's a little smart ass. And I'm like, there's just no
Yeah.
winning. So I just go enjoy the baby victory of me watching you grow up, even though I'm the young one and you're the adult.
I think you're absolutely right too about not wanting to do the work. And I didn't even realize until I had my awakening last year, but like I had actually started to do some of the shadow work, and it was in one of the worst places I had ever been. It was when I had to put myself into rehab for alcohol. And that was like one of the first times I think as an adult I kind of admitted, like, this version of me, hey, you're a piece of shit. Like, this sucks. Your life sucks and you did it. Right. And there's a lot of people that don't want to face that reality to even start the journey. And that's one of the big things. Like, and again, I'm going to shout out Karen. She was the one who really pushed me to even look at shadow work. I didn't know what the hell that was. The first time I even considered spirituality again was in rehab. We did something called temps, and the S on temps was spirituality. I'm like, what the hell is that? Because
You're
I
gonna
had known
find
about Bible.
no,
So
I was gonna say you're gonna find that this before you knew what shadow work was, and you were just like the things I did or do, drink or smoke or whatever, and you recognize it and you look at it, that's like when they say I fell to the bottom, right? And then I made my way back up. How are you going to speak on something if you don't understand it, right? So you fell to the bottom. So as you claw your way up, you understand it. You're speaking from experience, right? So you're coming from the alcohol perspective. I came from another perspective, and this guy and this girl, they all come from different perspectives to give the people out there something, right? Well, he did it like this, and I'm kind of like that. But then Frank said this, and I'm kind of like that when he says it. And then when Karen said this, it really made me change my perspective. That's what we're here for. We're here, though, to go to the bottom. I was at the bottom. I'm with you, bub. I didn't do the alcohol thing. I did all kinds of crazy stuff, though, rock star stuff. And I was like, I don't like any of this. I had to really go back. I didn't I used the psychedelics to advance myself, but I was so far behind, and so I want to call it clogged with this density that it was disgusting. Me and Paula, my wife, have a joke. We look at each other and we're like, "You piece of shit." Like you just get up, right? Like, and you're like, we laugh and laugh and laugh because we all know we've done the piece of trash. What are you doing? And we've all done it. It's okay. Just snap out of it, though. Be like, I recognize it. Yeah, I did that. It's okay. That stuff I didn't like, that stuff I did like. It made me feel good. I don't give a shit. Right. But I'm not going to do it again. If it's hurting you or hurting someone else or hurting myself, I won't do it again. But I did it and I enjoyed it. And then recognize why you like something, why you didn't like something, the what comes over you when you have that feeling, when you say it to yourself. Why are you feeling that? I got to shake through my body when I thought about that time when I was younger and I told that chick this, that, or the other thing. And that was that's really rude. You just brought yourself back into that moment and you're experiencing it kind of like third party, looking at it in your mind's eye, like maybe from her perspective a little, and you're like, wow, I really didn't mean to do that. I should have never did that. That was a real piece of trash thing that I did, but some of these people, see, when you do your 12-step program, they want you to call these people, right? With the psychedelics, they're like, you don't have to do that. That's for alcoholics because they've done some other stuff. But let's just say you can't reach certain people, or somebody's married and their husband doesn't like Frank. So, Frank, don't call over there. You're going to start a problem. You can ask for forgiveness spiritually, right? So, you're not just saying it out to the sky, like you mean it in your heart. For people that use ayahuasca and psychedelics, it really, really shows them because they need it to be shown to them so they recognize what is actually going on. And it's just not crap talking, which is why you have to go through. And people are like, wow, every time I do it, it's almost like I get put through the ringer with my past lives or the things I've said or the things I've done. Then I have to like apologize and make up for it. And then especially hug myself and say something nice to the other one and then transform myself into this new person, because a better version of Don and Frank on the planet is what the planet needs.
I
Right? And
totally,
it
again,
works
I
that way
would
with
say I agree
everyone.
with you, but you and I are so like-minded, and I didn't have the opportunity for ayahuasca, and actually, Spin and I just did mushrooms for the first time in probably, well, her and I together ever, and me probably in about 15 years. But I got to the same place that you're talking about, listening to Dolores Cannon, because she has the theory that there's some people that you just can't go back and see face to face or give a call emotionally, mentally, because they don't want to fucking see you, whatever it is. And
What
you
if
have to
they're
end
not
that
here?
energy.
They're dead.
Yeah.
And you're still holding
You
on to it.
have
That's
to
a big
end,
one.
Yeah.
right?
So what she did is like you have to be able to go there in your head and end that relationship and just say like, look, this didn't work out this time. I don't think it was supposed to. I love you, but goodbye. And I did that with my own biological father because he was an abusive such and such. Right. And I'm never going to see the guy before he dies again, but I needed to fucking let it go. And that
Right.
was a huge part of my spirit healing. And I'm giving that as advice to anybody. If you can't have a spiritual journey, at least have that moment in your head where you're like, I'm allowed to let this go. I'm allowed to end this contract
Yeah, it's
because you
okay.
are. Yeah.
It's okay. Contracts are meant to, first of all, they hold to a certain point, and then they, if you're hanging on to it too long, that's when you break contract. Everything's above, so below. It's based on the same stuff. It's okay. You get to move on. And they're like tethered strings from you to these people, and you realize that we're loaded with them for things we've done in past lives and lives in this lifetime. And you really got to dig into yourself and then kind of cut the cords. People get scared. Every time Aya would tell me um, something's being taken out, I'm like, what are you taking out of me? I'll never have it back. They're like, okay, after we take this out and help you with this, you tell us if you don't remember it, because you're thinking that we're stealing your memory or something. And they just clear out a path so I could move. And now these pathways are new and fresh and clean. And then I go, oh, like you just took it's like cleaning the carpet, defragging the hard drive. So you're not taking anything. I still remember everything. Like it still hurts even a little. And they're like, yeah, but it'll stop after a while now, like really quickly. It's like you will, and you'll be able to look directly at it. It's like, damn, I could, yeah, that really is what happens. And they're like, you just never learned it. No one's ever taught you this stuff. So we're teaching it to you a piece at a time. And when you learn these things, and you learn different things that will help you if you implement them into your life, just because you have it, if you don't implement it, it's not working. Right? Like they would tell me, I'm like, is the ivermectin going to work if I take it? And they're like, if I get it, and they're like, well, if you get it and if you take it, if you choose to do it. And I'm like, yeah, but will it help me with X, Y, and Z? And they're like, if, once again, Frank, if you choose to put it in your mouth, because you guys will buy it and put it in the closet and not use it. You'll have a friend deliver CBD oil to you, and because you're so tight-assed about pot and not understanding what CBD is and all this other stuff, you won't take it. So you'll sit in fucking pain, or you'll go to your doctor and he'll send you to the pharmacy, and then you'll have to pick up drugs that put yourself, my auntie has MS, and she's taking all these things, and she wants to not take as much. I just went over the 16 different things she has to take 3 times a day. And I'm like, why is there antidepressants in there? Like that changes your chemical. You already have the chemical change. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You'll run to that stuff. People will be like, nope, I know exactly what's going on. My doctor told me this. And I'm like, my doctor was wrong like 4 or 5 times, plus every time we used to have to get the flu shots at school when we were kids and all that other stuff. Like he would make me do it, and I'd have to bring a note to school that it was done. You have to prove it. So you did that to me my whole life. Plus, I caught you 4 times. What am I going to do? Go for 5? You're going to keep stabbing me with stuff and putting it in me? What's going on? Why do I have to take this? Why'd you just pull that off the shelf and said, yeah, take this and try this? And that guy just come in with a suitcase filled with that stuff. And now you have his pen and his letterhead and then his free samples on the wall. But you got free samples of all kinds all over the wall. You're showing me pictures with you and Joe Montana on the golf tournament hanging out, but I have a problem and you just seem to be stuffing me with all this shit. What is that about? And when they don't want to answer the questions, some of us grow up to be other things. I grew up, I had a good job and I had the information that I needed to challenge him. I just turned the website up, showed it to him, and he kicked me out of the office. So it's like you could have just stopped way long ago, got on a better, healthier lifestyle, understanding heading in a different direction and change, or you can stay here and he's going to keep hitting you with this stuff and keep piling it in, right? Like you're a little drug addict. And it's like, wow, I never even caught that. How do you not catch that? Right. But we're all sucked in. Dude, I can't even tell you. Nope, I need my pills. I'm like, well, this cures that. So if you're not going to make the change, nope, I'm going to rely on this safe thing. Well, this is causing this to go up. And now you have to take this and this. Oh, and then that now you have to take pills for this. No, thank you. This is what's keeping people from the everything too. These are all issues. You drinking right out of the faucet, you have an issue. If you're brushing your teeth with fluoride, drinking the tap water, et cetera, et cetera, it goes down the tube. Because then on top of it, they're spraying us with everything, and then the food we eat, it's in everything. So it's already
I
hard enough.
I'm just going to share something here because you're absolutely right. There's stages of my life where I wasn't happy to be here and wasn't the happiest person. So they slapped a label on me, said I was borderline personality disorder, and gave me a neurostimulant for about 8 or 10 years. And I'm going to tell you, if I missed one, it felt like I was having a stroke and I would get tingling sensations and numbness in my tongue and face. When I came off of that, I have quit alcohol, cocaine, and multiple other drugs. I've even quit smoking, and that hurt more
Right,
because
right.
it was neuro. It felt like my brain was collapsing along itself. It felt like it was literally stabbing inside to come off of these chemicals. Guess what happened right after? My awakening.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to
Yeah.
compare you to Neo. I was just watching the new Matrix, the newer one, whatever. My wife had it on, and he was fighting them over taking the pill, right? So, but the pill, if you take it, everything you just did from the beginning of the movie to this point, when you saw him in therapy and all this other stuff, is for nothing. It's literally for nothing. They're fucking lying to you, bro. 100%. Take the blue or take the red, whatever the fuck color it is, right? You take and he had the blue pills and he was just eating them and eating them and eating them and eating them. And what was he doing every day? Same thing, same thing, same thing. He was getting like fucking fed up. Like there's this rising inside of you that says enough, and you suddenly get the willpower to overcome something that's really difficult, and then you start noticing more that you never noticed. Then your awakening begins to happen. So when they showed it to me, they were like, "So what do you want to do?" Right? I could go back to cocaine and uh, all kinds of crazy stuff, or do you want to see what's over here? And I'm like, "Yo, I got to be honest. This is what I said to ayahuasca. I kind of don't like this place. I'm not telling you that I want to do anything to myself or hurt myself. I'm just saying it this sucks. Like I feel like because of the music and all this stuff, like I traveled all over, man. I seen a lot of stuff and I was always bored, man. I was like bored all the time. There was so many times that I was bored and all the things I liked a lot, loved, like the music group and all this, it would always fall apart somewhere in there, full corruption, and you're just like, oh, it was the same way when I played football and I played lacrosse, and it's not going to last forever. It's not meant to move on. It was like every other story you would hear. And I was like, I'm tired of this nonsense. And then they're like, well, look at this. And they just showed me the door to walk through. And I was like, this is magic. And they were like, no, you're magic. So walking through the door is accepting yourself as the magic one, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, and I was already through the door. I didn't even argue. Yeah, I'm not staying in this crap. Well, but I'm gonna. You mean I'm gonna stay on the planet and witness some cool stuff? They're like, dude, you're the cool stuff. You're literally the magnet. There's a whole bunch of you. Like they showed me all the people doing it and everything. So I was like, so what? I can only take it to like when you go to school and there's kindergarten, pre-kindergarten through like ninth grade or eighth grade, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 are in the high school, right? And then there's your college, your master's. Okay, now what happens when you finish all of that? You graduate. And what do you decide to do? Some people, they graduate and they start teaching immediately. They're like, oh, I'm just going to go back in and teach. That's what we're doing. We're some of us, though, are in full graduation. Full graduation. It's like, well, what are you going to do? It's like, well, you're going to get back in the game, except now you're going to be like this, right? So you're going to take all the things that you've learned from every thing, and you're going to go back in and help others do the exact same thing. So I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. And then they show you the transformations and how society changes, how people just change. And I'm like, oh, people want the societal changes now because we're a system of people that are like we could press a button and Amazon will deliver it to you, right? So we want it now. Like my mother, if I say to her, if she says something to me and I don't like react immediately, whatever, she wants to move quicker and do it done. It's like now, now, now. And it's like, dude, we're doing Bitcoin stuff. It takes a second to load. Just because you hear it's a button press doesn't mean that you don't have to type in the web address. You know, like you're just so far gone. Like, just give it 30 seconds. I'm looking. You're like, what? Like, oh, just press the button. Oh, it's not working. And you're like, dude, calm the fuck down. And here.
Remember
And then they're like,
dial up?
oh, no, but this is the human. This is human beings because we're laughing because we know, but everyone that hears this has that person or has those people, and they know. Maybe they're doing it themselves. I've caught myself. I'm not gonna lie. I've caught myself doing stupid things, right? Like I gotta touch this and move it from here to there, and then here to there, back again, and then I put it back, and I'm like so satisfied that it's there, and then I got to get up and leave, and I'm like, oh, panic comes in. It's like, what are you panicking for? It's like, I don't know. I think I'm just, and it's like, let it go. You're not attached to this thing. Just let it go. Let it go. Leave it there. And you just teach yourself, like, yo, it's all good because that's fear setting in. Like, oh, it might not be there in 30 seconds. It might, just take it all. This is what I do to Kali under the full moon. People think when I was teaching this, it was kind of crazy. I called to her and I'm like, they're like, oh, I've heard everything. She's a demon. She's this. She's a deity. She's an archetype. I'm like, whatever. I'm calling her. She's going to come in here. Right. And all you say, and you got to mean this from your heart, because if you don't, you're going to be frightened to death. You've heard the stories already, but there's nothing frightening. But just take everything. I don't want it anymore. The baggage, the information, the this, the that. Just take all of it. I don't even want to explain it. You could read it in my energy. And she just shows up, and like it looks like she cut your head off, like, and then it's done, and you're like, it's over already, and you're like, oh wow. And she's just standing there, and you see all the craziness, and you're like, wait a second. I feel pretty good right now. How come I feel so good? They're like, well, you that's change. It's like the old thoughts, the old system, the backpack you were wearing full of rocks that you didn't know you were carrying of emotional baggage, and you've been walking uphill the whole time, right? She just took a whole bunch out. You were like, take it. Oh, I don't want it. Right. Like I understand it's just too, we all know when something is too much. Everything gets too much. And it's that moment. I'm under the full moon and you're feeling that buzz, like, oh, and I'm like, for me, it's Kali. So I just called to her. I go, mother of destruction, take it all. I don't want it anymore. And then she just like, it's metaphoric throat cutting, slashing, whatever. She pulls out something of energetic, no more wanting. Like, we don't want it no more. I don't want this. Get it out. And she just pulls it out, but it manifests in all different weird ways with her because it's her. So they call her, like, they show you her like destruction dancing and stuff. I'm like, she's not doing that physically to, like, let's say an area. Oh, she's doing the dance of the, no, that's not how that works, son. You're interpreting that way wrong. It's maybe like an old way of thinking, right? Like people that quit cigarettes or quit alcohol or quit something know exactly what I'm talking about. It's good, but I'm going to put it here. We're not going to play with that no more. Right? You just walk away
Yeah.
from it. You put it, but it's right there. But that thing could have killed you or changed your whole life and did all kinds of stuff. But now you're okay. That's her take. That's you getting rid of that attachment piece. For some things, it's too big for some people to just do that. So there's beings like Kali that will roll on you, right? You put on a mantra, you light a candle. You're not calling in demons. You're not doing any of that. These are major archetypes. They're there for your help, right? Like, I'm like, why are you here? And they're like, because you're here. I'm like, why am I here? They're like, well, you're doing this, this, and this. And I go, well, what about you? And they're like, it's you. You're there. I'm not there. I'm here. I'm going to help you. This is how this works. And I'm like, oh, I see. So y'all hear from me. They're like, well, you're source and you don't realize it. So we're trying to get you to recognize that you're source. And I'm like, well, because when you're in source, you'll go, no way I'm this. This is this is out of my pay grade. And the source will tell you, no, you're an independent, your own piece of me creating you. And you're allowed to do what you want with that. Dun dun. End of show. Curtains. That's it. What do you mean? So I'm God, capital G. No, you're source. That's bigger than God, because the God you're thinking about is some guy on a magic carpet or some shit with a big white beard. Nope. Most of the time, that's just Zeus anyway. They all it's the one guy playing, like, he has like 200 different names. And I
Yeah.
just go, this is how I do it. I go, Grandpa, right? Like that. Just, hey, Grandpa. And he's like, oh, or hey, Father. Is that you? Oh, yes, my son. Oh, everybody's son and father. Yeah, okay, good. That's how I deal with it mentally when I deal with
Yeah.
my shit. I just go, oh,
I act
okay, Father.
I actually I talk about this a little bit. I actually have had one deliberate OBE, and it was in the bathtub and it was messed up. I was listening to high frequency sounds. I was doing Wim Hof breathing. I had taken a little bit of THC. I was in warm water, a candle, everything else. And I really wanted to go see this farm that Spin and I are trying to manifest. The universe had a different idea, though, because the first thing that happened as soon as I got out of body is I shot out of the trailer, out of this universe, to basically what was a yellow and orange warm light that gave me an emotion that I can't explain. I've watched my children be born, and it wasn't that. Okay. It was beyond that. It was euphoric. And I had this moment of just sheer joy. And I was outside of this light that I looked like, but it was much bigger. And I was like, wait, I wanted to go see the farm. And then, like, as if I was in a falling star, I came right back down to earth, landed exactly where I wanted to be. I could smell, I could taste it, I could hear the grass under my feet. And then everything started to shake. And then, the fat guy on Truman Show hanging onto the bathtub when Truman damn near drowns? That's how I came back to my house. But like holding onto the tub, like, what the hell just happened?
Dude, that's what's up,
But that's
man.
just what I'm like,
You when you do the out of body, it's real.
yeah,
Like, people have said, well, I think I do that, or I might do. I'm like, you would not say I think in front of any of the statements if you did, because that's the difference when you do it and it's real, and people that want it to just happen, or they not doing the work for it, and then it occurs and you're like, well, when I went to jail and I was in Florida for fighting, I was like 2 months into a 4 month in Broward County, and then they sat me, and I had a little window, and I could see outside, and there's a lot of fear going through me. I was the only white kid around, all this stuff, and I sat on my bed, and I sat, and I was kind of like just rocking back and forth, and then I went through the wall, and I was dangling, and I go, oh, and it pulled back in, and then I was boom in my body. I heard I heard the squishing, the liquid, that whole. I felt the wall. I watched all the penetration of the wall layers. Like I could see the whole thing, and I was just passing through it. And then I had a cord attached to me to my body, and I was just floating over. I was on like the fourth floor, so it was kind of high. And then I got so scared of it. Then I was like, if I did that once, this is right after it happened. I said, I think I could do that again. And then I started breathing hard. Like I didn't know about Wim Hof, but I was taking like big athletic breaths, and it just happened. I went through the same exact thing again, but it happened instantly. Like I layers, everything. And I was outside floating. And then I looked, and then I took off. Like I left. I went and I visited people. You could smell them, you could hear them. Some people contacted me. I had a girl that I saw her, and she was laying on the couch. I don't know why my higher self made me go see her. Like I just saw her sleeping, and it was weird. I was like passing over her house, but she looked up and saw me there, right? And then I was like, "Whoa!" Like she like waved, like, "Hey, wait, don't go." And I just kept going. I was like, "Yo, I'm out of here." But then she wrote me this huge letter when she found out I was when I was down in Florida, and then I got the letter in jail, and I was like, wow, look at this. So the magic's always been around us. We've always been able to do it. It's just it takes a little bit sometimes to really push through to get to it. Right? You do a little bit of the work. Right? I was very upset at myself for being in jail. I didn't belong there. There was some shady shit going on though, and I was like, oh, I'll put my foot down. It didn't work that well. Right? So you learn your lesson. I was eating. I was cooking when I was in there, so I was eating peanut butter every day. I'm kind of a heavy guy, but short, right? I went from 220 pounds, well, 235 to 168 when I was in there in 4 months, ripped, shredded. People didn't even recognize me. The people that had arrested me and brought me in didn't know it was me. They were like, when did you do this? I was like, so I found myself now thinking back to that. Now that we're talking about it, that being a little more healthier, not drinking, not having those issues of people around me influencing me, deceiving me. There was none of that. You're just in jail. You're welcome to your home, and you're sober. There's no cigarettes. There's nothing. You can't smoke when you're there in Broward County. So there was nothing. I couldn't do anything. So I just did push-ups and sit-ups nonstop, all day, all night, all day, all night. They never let me out. So I never went outside. I was like, I haven't seen the sun technically like over my head in 4 months. It was crazy. But I became this like human machine. And this magical stuff, even in jail, was happening. What you would consider like miracle like to one degree or another. So that's you opening. It's like the little gifts are there, they're there, and it's not, everyone can do this stuff. Right? And we're all from different
Yeah,
places and learned in different styles. It's
yeah,
our time now. The human experience is our time.
yeah. And that's actually something we were just talking about. We did an FKN panel on shaman or charlatan because there's a lot of fake ass energy workers in our community. And I'm not going to jump back into that, but I think you just nailed it again because anybody worth their salt, you work will teach you how to heal yourself.
This was my thing. Everybody wants to have their favorite, but then you get followers, and I'm not here to create followers. I'm here to create warriors. You wake up. I'm not selling a book, Don. People are always like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, what's he selling? Nothing. You want
Yeah.
to work with me? You call me up, you get in touch with me, and maybe if you get through the checklist, there'll be ayahuasca session with me or mushrooms or something crazy, and we go there. And you know what I mean, right? My
Yeah.
last set of clients, shout outs to Della and Joe. They're my family. They're not even clients. I don't know why I say that anymore, but to make the point, like we just were like went on the spaceship right then and there. We were sitting in the living room, dude, and he just came down around us and grabbed us. And Joe went on the ayahuasca experience, and me and his wife Della went into the ship, and we were looking around, touching everything, talking to everyone, and we were like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't. I'm like, I can believe it. I can believe it more, 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 more. And they were like, yo, guys, relax. They were like, calm down.
She's actually
You
in
don't
the
have to
chat.
touch everything.
Della's
What
here in the
happened?
chat. Della's
Really?
here in the chat. Yeah.
Oh, shout outs to Della. So Della and I have even worked together in Egypt, in other lives where she was, dare I say, her own, priestess. She rose up and became that which is through. I guess back then we were using soma. I think it's just soma is like is acacia and Syrian rue. I think they're all full of shit because I look at it and go, okay, show me what you guys were doing. And then Space Jesus is like, yo, I went to Egypt and I drank and did all the stuff you're doing to unlock myself. But we didn't have frequency pollution and all kinds of nonsense that you guys have. We had it differently. So when you were upgrading, you were upgrading. I was coming in with the ability to do that. So I went and I trained with them and they unlocked it. We've heard stories of people doing Jesus type scenario stuff for a very long time, all different kinds of things. You hear the stories. Um, what I've learned to do, I can only teach um, f- from my life's the parable from my life, right? Like I'm not trying to sell the story. We're all fearless, right? You go in, you do whatever it is you need to face, and then you come up front and stand. We're all one. We're gonna. But what about the event? But what about the this? What about? Yeah, it's all there. Focus, right? This is what they used to have to tell me. They used to have to hold my head in place and be like, open his eyes and make him look. And I'm like, I'm looking. And they're like, your eyes are closed. Open your eyes. And I'm like, all right, fine. I'd open my eyes. There'd be an ET standing right there. And I'm like, what? And then they're like, okay, he's not ready for that. Close your eyes. And then in my mind's eye, I'm seeing Aya and all them like working on me and doing stuff. And I'm like, are you guys on spaceships? Right? Like people say some crazy shit, right? And I'm like, Space Jesus rolled up on my apartment when I was not on ayahuasca about 11 o'clock in the morning, but he was in the spaceship. There was a ship over the house across the street, and he was with dudes that looked like Star Trek guys, which are Galactic Federation dudes. That's how I know who they are now. But I was like, they looked like a security detail that from the ship. They were like looking at stuff, and they one was on where my apartment was. There was four corners right from my door. You could see all the different corners. So there were people on all the corners. And I just looked up and saw the ship. And I'm like, dude, you come from that ship? And he was like, uh-huh. Yes, I did. I was like, oh, look at that. So you'd be up in a spaceship the whole time? He's like, yep, just like you. I didn't know at that time that I was up in those things as well. So when you hear people talk about Jesus and all this stuff, the only person I've ever heard, which is only recently, like a few days ago, David Wilcox did a show. I just happened to catch the part where he was talking about Jesus and breaking down old, I don't know, writings and whatever. And he was like, according to this, Jesus went into the clouds are actually ships. And if you say cloud, heaven, ship, and put them together, these dudes are coming like ETs up and down out of ships. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what he did. He literally went back up into it. I watched him. And then he was like, yeah, you're from up there too, not mine. You're from that one. Like, there's this whole thing, that interaction that happens. And I'm like, okay, so they still haven't put that together. That's going to blow minds. I had to sit there and go, oh, thank the gods. I kind of like didn't stay like ultra Christian. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I grew up Catholic school. So they beat you if you didn't scream Jesus' name. But I never felt it in my heart. Never felt it, but I felt source, the spirit. So I knew there was
I
something.
think
I just didn't believe in the Jesus thing.
yeah, I think it was actually you that I was talking about that was saying that Jesus is coming back, but not as a single person. It's going to be Christ consciousness.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he, like, those that obtain his frequency will meet him. I mean, I did it, but I've said it on the show before. I was singing to my cats, my cat buddy, and it was just a beautiful moment. But that's how you obtain this stuff. You have to get out there and do the work. This is why I said, like, people that have like pets, the animals will be the first to show that you're leveling up if you're unsure. So the animals will start interacting with you on this weird level, and you'll think like, I'm the crazy cat lady, or I'm the whatever, the crazy dog dude. But really, the animals are tuning into you. Now, what happens when you're an animal owner? Again, I know a million of these that just throws the food down on the floor, doesn't interact, a little pet on the head, you're done, right? Like, you're not getting the full experience. Yeah, but I'm busy doing other things. I always see that. I am busy doing the other things, and it's really just stuff on your phone and bullshit. So during those moments, to prove science myself, I put down whatever it is I'm doing. I do this all the time now, of years of doing it, and I just interact with my animals. So I get down on the floor in wherever I'm standing, and I get there. That cat needs me at that moment and wants to love me right then and there on the hot concrete or in my mother's room looking out the window. Then guess what? This is where it's got to go down. But I've noticed there were times where I'd be like, oh, well, let me do this and let me just roll this cigarette first, or let me just pour my coffee, then I'll get to it. I've learned to stop doing that shit. I still catch myself. But when you do it right then and there, there's this now moment that bangs out, and the energy and the frequency increases so much because the animals are just going to raise your frequency. And you're like, well, the dog's a dummy. I'm like, no, the dog's not a dummy. Maybe your dog's a dummy. My dog's a dinkle dunk too, but they're not dummies. They're like children that don't, they're perpetual children. So if you just treat them like that, then you'll be fine. Right? Because you like let them into your heart, and then you start to see the benefits. You have dogs, right?
Yeah, we
So
were we were literally laughing before the show because I went to set up in the living room and they had trashed the living room since we had last been in. And I said to Spin, I'm fucking kids. And she's fixing the
yeah,
couch and I'm trying to set up, we shoot everything. And so, yeah, I 100% get what you're talking about.
dude, I had a moment when one of my cats died, and it was kind of brutal. So I just went like, oh man, my baby, you killed my baby. And then the people came out and they were like, what happened to your kid? Like, where's the, and I'm like, no, 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 no. An actual baby, the kitten, the cat. And they were like, that's a kitten, Frank, not a baby. And I'm like, no, that's a little baby. No matter how you want to fucking look at it, that's mine. They're like, well, we have kids, so, and there's always that weird thing going on. But I have the connection, and then the connection grew and expanded into this monstrous thing, right? That is all energetic. And it's just from telling them how much you love them, getting involved with them a little bit, sharing the energy back and forth. They're there to, because they could see half the stuff going on. The cats see all that. I've seen my dog now. We have a thing with entities in this house, but it's mostly relatives. right? But the dog, as well as my mother and my wife, get really scared, right? So the dog will perk up, look into the darkness, and I'll go, "Oh, the cat must be coming up the stairs." And I'll walk into the dark, down the stairs, and realize there's no one here. And then I feel it, the woo, ooh, and then I'm like, "Ooh, scary, right? Not scary to me. Who is it?" And then you're like, "Oh, it's great grandpa passing through, or it's an ET, or to get to the weird spot, you got to do the work. If you're willing to do the work, I did the work hardcore because I was like, yo, there's nothing here for me in this world. Doesn't matter who loves me and do whatever. I feel like there's nothing here. So you just showed me after, at that time, it was 40 years old, that there's so much more that I didn't see. And I want to see this with my own eyes. And oh, so instantly I got back into it. I was like, oh, so happy about life again. So I stopped being drab about life. Show me the money. I'm ready. I'm ready for magic all day and all night. I am the magic, but I know you want to show it to me, to show me that it's me. Like the mirror reflects from the true organic nature. So keep showing me. Let's go. And then it's like little mini miracle after mini miracle. Everything from a parking space or a bathroom or a cup of water to some of the bigger stuff like ETs and spiritual stuff. And and it's not always kumbaya. I'll tell you that right now. We've had episodes where we've discussed reptilians and all that other crazy stuff where as you're learning to out of body experience, you don't want to go visit like a nest of them because they'll see
No.
you. They'll be like, "Oh, look who it is."
Um, we've been going about an hour and a bit. I think that's a pretty cool place to wrap up, though, because like what we're basically saying is, clean yourself up spiritually, physically, mentally, and you're going to start to elevate to these things that you all want to happen. So, like,
And it's right in front
unless
of
you
us.
have, yeah,
It's all right here.
I you really, like Frank was saying though, it is all right there and you have to do the work. Like, I was a sugar junkie and a junk food junkie. I miss candy, but I'm not going to eat it. There's, you know 40-degree day, yeah, I'd love a beer, but I'm not going to drink it. I'm not saying don't drink, that's your own thing. But cigarettes, I did that since I was 13 years old. They're gone. Like, you really do actually have to stop doing this shit to yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually before anything can really happen.
So as I'm a collector, right? And I don't like to over collect things that I collect, right? I collect action figures, people laugh or whatever, but I don't care. Like I got my Punisher, right? I'm just chill. I've learned like which ones do you want? Because you just want to buy the whole collection. I never had these, and when I was a kid, and whatever, this is the one I really wanted forever. It's always gonna be that way, right? Are you stopping to pose it? This is what I tell myself. Did you pose the Punisher today? You love him so much. I'm like, I love all of them so much. Which one did you pick up and touch? Because if you love it, you'd be touching it all the time and admiring it. So do you have hundreds that you just throw into a container and randomly just pop out? Or are you looking at them and taking the time and looking at it and you're really appreciating it? And I'm learning now in my life to just slow down. I already have everything I want. I'm looking around. I'm like, I have a couple good friends. I got family. I'm on my balls just like everyone else is in this world. We have our problems. But I love my wife, I love my mother, and I love my cats, and I love my dog, my dad. So what's the problem? Right? And when you go with that and you wake up and you're like, oh, with that good foot forward, you gonna be the change this world needs and that you want to see in this world. So everybody take the small step at the same time, and you're gonna see the magic really start to happen. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate
Thank you.
everyone that chose to tune in and listen tonight. I love you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually gonna you had a lot of your homies in the crowd. Your family was here. Weapon X5, Kitty Catty Whack, Della Kennedy, our mutual friend Karen Holt, and like there was a whole bunch
Karen,
of
I love you.
people showing up. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you. If I missed anybody in the chat, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, these are all the
Um,
Fearless family. They're all Fearless family. I love them
they
so much.
are,
I
and
love
they
all
came
you
in
so
the
much.
chat. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm gonna hit end, Frank, and then I'll hit you up on Messenger because I still don't know how to get off my phone live, and it just always ends up ending like this.
I got you. Thank you so much, everyone. Be safe. And remember, the universe rewards bravery. Stay fearless.